Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to our November board meeting for Parks and Rec. I'll first read the appeal of decisions pursuant to the provisions of 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws. Please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. We will move to the consideration of minutes.
I move approval for the minutes.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The minutes carry. Any Metro Council referrals today?
No, none today.
And I've been informed there's no public comments for the public comment period today, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. We'll move to old business, Vanderbilt 072309, Vanderbilt University Athletics Department requests permission to provide Vanderbilt University Athletics branded signage on the new scoreboard at Centennial Sportsplex at their expense. Signage will be installed on the structure of the board for as long as Vanderbilt University Athletics remains a tenant of the swimming facility. This was brought up in the signage or policy committee, and ask our Parks Board member of the committee to comment on this.
The policy passed.
I was going to say, I think there was an amendment to some language added to the.
My apologies. Yes, thank you. So we had a brief discussion, heard from Metro Legal that offered a friendly amendment suggesting that we allow Vanderbilt University's logo to be maintained on the signage, but that we as a Parks Board still have the discretion if at any time a different discussion or a different decision needs to be made. In the end, the policy passed 5-1, with one not present. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. So I would entertain a motion for approval. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Just to confirm, that's approval with the amendment that was recommended in the committee.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We have, let's see, 4 items. Four items of acquisition for the acquisition committee. I'll read one at a time and then we'll go from there. 102308, staff requests approval of a donated conservation greenway easement for a future greenway trail at 135 Kingston Spring. Map and parcel ID as listed. This easement is for an area of 0.25 acres. This is in Council District 5. Acquisition Committee recommendation?
Yes, Acquisitions Committee recommendation was to accept unanimously.
Entertain a motion for approval.
I move approval.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 102309, staff request approval of a donated conservation greenway easement for a future greenway trail at 1811 and 1813 Elizabeth Road, map and parcel numbers listed on the agenda. These easements total 0.07 acres. Acquisition Committee, this is Council District 1.
Yes, Acquisition Committee requests approval.
Entertain a motion. Second, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 102310, staff requests approval of an agreement for grant of easement for conservation greenway for a donated greenway easement at 0 Asher Court. Map and parcel ID are listed. This easement is for an area of 1 acre. It's in Council District 3.
Acquisition Committee request approval.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 102311, staff request approval of an agreement for grant of easement for Conservation Greenway for donated greenway easements at 321 Trawick P1. Map and parcels are listed. Also 2176 Creekland View Boulevard. These easements total 8 acres. This is in Council District 3.
And I believe that's Trawick Place. But Acquisition Committee recommends approval.
Oh, I'm sorry, it is placed. Thank you for that. Looked like a one. Second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you for that, Ed. So right before the meeting, we're discussing, if we'll go to 112305, that is actually old business. Should have been listed on old business because we've discussed it, and we're going to discuss that now under old business. 112305, the Joe C. Davis Foundation and Friends of Mill Ridge Park request approval and acceptance of an in-kind donation valued at less than $3,000 for the fabrication and installation of 2 signs, one at Mill Ridge Park and one at Moore Farm at Mill Ridge Park, to document and recognize the contributions of Mill Ridge Park of Angela Moretti Goddard, Executive Director of the Joe C. Davis Foundation. Final design, fabrication, and placement of signs will be approved by Metro Parks. There's no required match or other obligation required by Parks. This is in Council District 32. We took this up last month and asked for some changes to what was initially proposed. They made the changes, and so again, it's old business, and we're going to address it now. So,
motion to approve.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
And I just want to note for the record, because of the issue where it notes deferral, there may be a notice issue on that, but it is in the board's discretion to decide to hear that today.
Right. Thank you for that. So any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right. That is our old business. We'll move to the consent agenda, and I will entertain a motion for the entire consent agenda unless we have any changes.
I move to approve the entire consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The consent agenda carries. Moving on to new business. Staff 112302, staff requests approval of a permit for use of park space for the Mid-State Sports Leagues of the Isaac Litton Park, 4500 Gallatin Pike, Nashville, to promote all aspects of recreation in Metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County at Litton Park. The permit is for a period of 1 year, contingent upon all permit obligations being met. Copies of permit will be available for review at the board meeting. As I probably didn't need to read that. Okay, it's in Council District 7. Report.
Staff recommends approval.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. 112303, staff requests acceptance of an in-kind grant valued at approximately $12,500 from the West Nashville Sports League for a new HVAC system in the maintenance building located at 2547 Old Hickory Boulevard, which is in the sports complex area of Edwin Warner Park. There's no required match or other obligation required by Metro Parks associated with this grant. This is in Council District 34.
Staff recommends approval.
Entertain a motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. 112304, Dr. and Mrs. John Dalton requests acceptance of an in-kind grant valued at approximately $2,251 for a bench to be placed on the west end of the walking loop at Palmer Park in Belmead with a plaque in honor of their 94-year-old parents who walk in the park. Metro Park has the discretion to relocate or remove the bench if it is in the best interest of the park as determined by the Parks Department. Please note there are no match or other obligations from the Metro Parks related to this grant. This is in Council District 23.
Staff recommends approval.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
First time I spoke to. First time this has come up, the bench thing. I mean, is that just pretty standard fare? How does that work? I mean, where it's placed and
So-
just kind of curious. And it says something about maintenance.
So our memorial bench program has expired. I think the board took that up except for case-by-case circumstances. And so, yes, when a request is made, it is vetted internally first. If there is a need for the bench, the Parks Department does have the discretion as to where to locate the bench. And then any kind of maintenance pieces, pouring of the concrete, for instance, will be done by our staff. And our maintenance team has provided input on this location, what it'll look like, and all of those associated details. So that is typically what happens, and we communicate directly with the proposed donor.
All right, and then just ongoing maintenance. I mean, at some point, these things wear out, right? I mean, does it go away, or they can choose to redo it, or that's our cost?
That is our cost and our call, particularly with something is given the dollar amount of this bench. We would take care of that. If it were a donation of a larger dollar amount, certainly written into the agreement would be maintenance expenditures.
Thank you.
Just add an additional question. So I guess just, can you give context of why the bench program was expired, if I can understand?
We had an overabundance of requests, and what we did kind of transition to, I mean, we had it simultaneously, but really transition to a memorial tree program rather than benches. And as I mentioned, when the board voted to expire the bench program, it's probably been, 4 or 5 years ago, voted to do that, there was the caveat that, again, on a case-by-case basis.
And where there's a real need.
Yeah, and where there is a need. So there is that intersection of need and the desire to make this kind of a donation.
Can you give any context on tree numbers? What kind of numbers of trees get donated?
I cannot give you that off the top of my head, but I can certainly prepare it for you.
That'd be nice to know, actually, and we should actually promote that more, because I forgot we did go to that, and we haven't talked about it in a while, so.
I think we get quite a few requests to have memorial trees. We also, as you may know, there is a kind of an aspirational goal of the city to improve the tree canopy, and a goal to, I think, plant, is it 500,000 more trees by 2050 or something like that? So, yeah, so it's, would be certainly in support of that. And that's not just on Parks property. No private organizations are involved with that as well.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 112306, Board to approve members of the Metro Golf Advisory Committee pursuant to the terms of the participation agreement between Metro Parks and the Tennessee Golf Foundation. Proposed members of the committee are as follows. 3 from Tennessee Golf Foundation, Jim C. Berry, Stuart Smith, and Whit Turnbow. 3 from Parks Revenue Producing Facilities, Brandon Denton, Wayne Evans, Kevin Fort. And 3 from Metro Golf Facilities, Robert Hall, Pat Gregory, Clayton Perry, and 1 from the Metro Park Board, Cruz Johnston. I'll entertain a motion for approval. So moved. Second? Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to 112307, Casa de la Cultura, Nashville, request approval for temporary placement of the La Catrina statue in Coleman Park from November 11th to November 21st, 2023. The La Catrina statue is 10 feet tall and is an iconic symbol of Dia de los Muertos. The placement of the statue is in a way to teach people about Mexican art and culture and the tradition of the Day of the Dead, when our beloved have passed, are remembered and celebrated. The organization will provide liability insurance in the statue, and the placement of the statue will require no expense to parks. Placement in the park will be approved by Parks Maintenance and Coleman Community Center staff. This is in Council District 16.
Staff recommends approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, the motion carries. Moving on to 112308, staff request approval of a community partner agreement between Metro Parks Napier Community Pool and Red Cross Centennial Campaign for establishing a campaign to offer free swim lessons to youth in the Napier Community Center indoor pool. This is in Council District 17.
Staff recommends approval.
And second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. 112309, staff requests approval of an 18.34 acre conservation agreement easement dedication for the Whites Creek Greenway located at 3465 West Hamilton Avenue. Parcel ID listed here for the purpose of future expansion of the Whites Creek Greenway. We're going to defer this to Acquisition Committee. So that's deferred. Okay. All right, and today we have two special presentations. The first one is Greenways for Nashville. Annual update to the board.
You ready with the stopwatch? Because I practiced. Hi, I am Amy Crownover, Executive Director of Greenways for Nashville. Thrilled to be here to present our work in the past year and the passion that leads our organization. Reflecting as we move into 2024, we will be celebrating 30 years. Before the early 90s, 30 years ago, not a single greenway existed in Nashville. Spearheaded by the then Mayor Phil Bredesen, who was enthusiastically joined by passionate conservationists, the Greenway movement was founded. Metro Council soon joined forces to establish what was then the Greenways Commission as an official part of Metro Parks Department. Greenways for Nashville, we became an active group in 1994 as a nonprofit, private nonprofit. And it was for individuals from across the county who shared the vision. Greenways for Nashville's official vision is to work with the Metro Parks Greenways and Open Space Commission and the Metro Parks Greenways and Open Space Division to create and preserve and promote the system of greenways in Davidson County. We're fully funded by private contribution dollars. We are financially healthy, and we have a full-time staff of 3 and a part-time staff of 3 that are dedicated to the advancement of the work of the Greenways and Open Space Division. Greenways are provide residents with of all ages and abilities with the many health benefits of physical activity, recreational space in nature to enjoy nature, socialize, and are an alternative low-stress transportation option for cyclists and pedestrians alike. Our most recent version of the Greenways Nashville Greenways map presents the nearly 100 miles of paved multimodal, multi-use and multimodal greenways trails across the county. A little different than most of the other Friends groups is that our efforts incorporate the entire county. So we are spread north, south, east, west across Davidson County in our work.
2022, Greenways for Nashville participated in community outreach activities in excess of 100. And what that means is we were at festivals, we were at private events, we were at public events, we had speaking engagements and presentations, sat on panels, we did trailhead pop-ups to meet users at the trailheads, we attended council meetings, stakeholder meetings such as Imagine East Bank and Connect Downtown. And of course, we're very closely involved in any Greenway project community engagement programming. Last year, we distributed approximately 10,000 of these maps. They're underwritten by Vanderbilt University and have been for several editions. We distribute them in person through community and nature centers. They're available for free, as well as the library system, the entire library system. And starting in COVID, we initiate mailing them out based on those requests. So we process that in our office, but most of them are retrieved in hand. In addition, our website carries individual maps of each segment that people can print out from home and take something perhaps a little more detailed and a little less cumbersome. We're super proud of this. Through social media in the last 12 months, and we utilize Facebook and Instagram, we had a reach of nearly 100,000. We produce an annual printed newsletter that showcases the system, it showcases the projects that are in development and that are coming, tells stories, and gives folks a sense of what's going on and how to get involved. We mailed out almost 5,000 this year. We give them out at outreach events as well. And probably one of the things we're most proud of is our annual monthly e-newsletter. Goes out to almost 7,000 people. Our click, our open rate on that is twice the industry average. So nonprofits run around 25%. What we send out at least gets clicked and opened, which is really exciting. In 2022, another thing, and it's a little bit dark and hard to see here, but we deployed the first 10 Greenway trailhead restoration projects, and we restored existing trailheads and their graphics and the amenities that are adjacent to them, deployed $60,000 to do that, and we did White's Creek and the Stones River Greenway, so if you've noticed the new signage out there, or the fresh signage, in 2023 and 2024, you all have approved, and our board has approved, the allocation of a little over $250,000 to do another 30. And so this is the geographic distribution of those trailheads. There is work to be done after this. We are distributing the work based on, again, geography as well as need, based on how some of those trailheads were from back 25 years ago. Recent successes. Dinner by the Bridge was a sellout again, and Dinner by the Bridge is certainly our largest fundraiser, but it is definitely a friend-raiser as well. It brings together Nashville's business, philanthropic, and political community and celebrates the parks and the Parks, Greenways, and Open Space Division. Raised a little over $300,000 this year. Another more popular event that we run as an annual fundraiser and friend-raiser is the Richland Creek Run. Those proceeds are distributed across the entire county, but we saw record entries this year. Many small runs are shrinking or are being discontinued. This run is actually growing, so 600 was almost 150 more than years past. Lastly, in the past year, we rolled out something called Greenways and IPAs. And you can guess who likes IPAs. But it has met with wonderful success. And what it is a free, more casual and intimate, we limit it to 100 people, series. And we have our fourth one scheduled next week in East Nashville. We've been downtown. We have been over in the Nations. And it is a great way to have conversation. Our board and our staff is there, and our materials are there to discuss the greenways and get people involved in a different setting. In closing, I'd like to thank you for everything you do for the Parks Department, and certainly will entertain any easy questions.
Great report, Amy. Thank you. It's amazing what y'all do.
It's fun.
Any questions?
I think you said something when you were first getting going about the funding. Is there government fund, is there Metro funding, or you, and if so, what percent?
No, good question. No, it is 100% we fund the parks. Our money is, when we grant it over, we raise money in the private sector and use it to advance the program. So we give and don't need to take government funding. So if that clarifies, yeah. So like the other Friends group, we're a 501c3. We just doesn't say Friends of Greenways, but we are Friends of Greenways and Open Space. And we're a nonprofit. So thank you.
Yes.
And I just wanted to ask a question specifically about the trailhead restoration. So I saw that there was, I think, 270,000 committed to that.
Yes.
But fundraising for that, that's still ongoing? Or is that 270 based on kind of an assessment of the trailheads and the need?
So that funding is in hand. And we found ourselves with COVID very well supported, and we did not have events. So the expenses were down and the revenues were up, and it left us with a bit of a nest egg, and we want to deploy the nest egg. There are additional trailheads that will need attention. So with Park Board approval, I believe it was a couple of months ago, it was to do that work, and we have a project manager who manages that work, and we bring in the contractors with the maintenance department and the divisions of review and approval, and we will be fundraising in that respect for the next group that is out there and waiting. So if your Greenway wasn't listed, we're aware, we've surveyed them all, and we know that there are more that need attention.
Amy, thank you for the map and the sticker and everything.
Sticker on your car, there'll be a monitor at the parking lot.
There you go. Did you submit your financials? Because we're supposed to get the financials once a year as well.
Yes, they've
Okay, I
been
didn't see those.
submitted.
Okay.
We're a full audit, so what
Good.
you will have available is a year,
Where'd you-
June 2022.
Oh, I didn't see them. You submitted
Yeah.
them. I'm sorry. I must not have one. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Good.
yeah, just let me know. You know how to get me. Amy.
Great report.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the Friends of Fort Negley.
So I'm Cyril Stewart, pleased to be here. It is my first time. I didn't realize the audit, the financials were needed, so I'll send that in
That's
to
fine.
finish up.
Thank you.
So, but I'm president of the Friends of Fort Negley. It's exciting to be here. It's an amazing time at Fort Negley. Although amidst all the great happenings, I regret to inform you of the death of John Allen. John Allen was a longtime, tireless supporter of both the city cemetery, Fort Negley, and all things that related to the Civil War and Nashville heritage. He was a Friends board member, died on November 4th, and our thoughts and prayers go out to Gary, his wife, and family. But for almost 160 years, Nashville tried to forget Fort Negley. The agony of war, the economic, social, political upheaval that happened during Reconstruction, and the negative associations of this place made it painful to try to remember and easy to forget. The fortification fell into disrepair. Some of it was carried off to build the reservoir at 8th Avenue, and the hill became overgrown and was not even a safe place to be. During the Depression, the WPA and many other leaders in this city came together and made significant efforts to create a city park there. But World War II took the focus to more pressing global issues. Between 1978 and 2014, the Greer Stadium hosted the Nashville Sounds and other baseball teams. And with the construction of the new First Tennessee Stadium in 2015, the vacant facility became a target for vandals. Well, in 2007, the park took a giant step forward when interpretive exhibits, boardwalks, and the visitor center opened to the public. When the movement came to create a mixed-use project on part of the site, many voices rose up to help realize what a sacred place this was. And over the past 3 years, amazing progress has occurred. During 21 and 22, HDLA landscape architects working with Parks and Recreation really came up with an amazing master plan for the entire 64-acre site. The plan was funded with both city and private funds. Mayor Cooper included, and the Metro Council passed a capital improvements budget to build Phase 1. And earlier this year, a purchase contract and partial funding for an adjoining 2-acre site was approved by the council. The city, Parks and Recreation, the Friends Group are working with the American Battlefield Trust, the Tennessee State Wars Commission, and others to obtain the remainder of the funding required for this acquisition. Although construction documents and bidding have not yet been completed, it's felt that the initial funding will improve and be able to open the entire 64-acre park once Phase 1 is completed. There will be paths that traverse the entire site, greenlands, native grasslands, and a wonderful passive area. Areas will be set aside for special exhibits focusing on the rich and varied history of the site. Although this will be a passive park, its history and stories are so rich. The more I get into this, the more I see it's just amazing, the depth of this experience. Although it was the largest inland stone fortification in the nation during the Civil War, and Nashville was the second most fortified city in the nation, second only to Washington, D.C., it's not just a Civil War story. Although contemporary to the war, Fort Negley was a beacon of hope for tens of thousands of enslaved Americans and became a thriving community of African Americans. That community was then physically erased when the interstate came through. But the residents, the people that grew up there, still remember it and will help us to bring back those memories and celebrate their presence as we develop this park. Well, as I mentioned, the Phase 1 elements are in the construction documents phase and will be completed and construction to start next year. However, one major project, reconstruction of the stonework, has already occurred. Phase 1 of the stonework, which was the Sally Port, the stones had fallen down, were completely compromised, not safe. That's been completed. It's beautiful stonework. If you haven't been up, it's worth seeing. And the second phase is well under progress as we're going. The Board of Parks and Recreation has not waited for this master plan to take effect, but have gone in and taken away some of the graded boardwalks and opened up areas that were previously closed due to safety issues, and we appreciate that tremendously. Just last week, there was a kickoff meeting that was incredibly exciting between park leadership, the design team, key stakeholders, and representatives from Ralph Applebaum Associates. Ralph Applebaum is probably the premier exhibit designer within the world. And they have done things like in DC, the National Museum of African American History and Culture, presidential libraries, and all sorts of other things. What they will be able to do to interpret these stories is really exciting. And Parks and Recreation has significantly increased the staffing, and range of programs continue to grow. We're delighted that Tracy Harris has been elevated to director and that more staff are in the pipeline. Well, our ongoing and highly popular fossil finders, where Vulcan Materials brings in limestone and drops it off so the kids can go through and pick out fossils that they can then take home with themselves, is incredibly popular and sees hundreds of kids every year. The Nashville History Club meets every week here, and guided walking tours occur monthly. And our own Gary Burke delights visitors when he appears in his colored troops uniform and tells them about the history of his ancestor, who was part of that park's construction. The 2023 Juneteenth celebration was led by the African American Cultural Alliance, saw over 3,000 attend that spectacular event on one of the stormiest days that we had this summer. And it was a phenomenal event. This past Saturday, Mayor O'Connell and council members Terry Vo, Brenda Gadd, and Olivia Hill helped us in planting 2,700 flags that represented the enslaved, the self-emancipated and free Black Americans who helped build this fort 161 years ago. We do that every year. The Friends Group also ramped up our efforts to increase programming and broaden awareness of the park's significance. Between April and June, the Afterlives of Fort Negley lecture series featured 5 lectures from scholars and artists. The Path to Freedom lecture this September featured Richard Blanket, whose talk informed us about fugitive slaves and the Underground Railroad. Many of our board members are subject matter experts and have been leading weekend tours. The next is a Veterans Day tour led by Dr. Angela Sutton this coming Saturday, November 11th from 11 to 12:30. It focuses on Fort Negley veterans and their descendants. I invite you all to the Friends of Fort Negley annual meeting, which will be held at the Visitor Center on Thursday, November 16th from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Many thanks to you, Parks Director Odom, and Metro staff who have been working with us directly, many of them here in this room, and our board who all make this happen. Thank you so much, and I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
Thank you for that. Is there any-
Thanks, it was a great report, thank you. How long has the Friends Group been around?
It's had a couple of iterations, and I've been on for just a few years, but Jim, do you know how long we've been around this iteration?
We had a previous Friends group, and they fell apart, and then this new group, I guess it was 5, 6 years.
Maybe a little bit longer, yeah, I remember that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a question for somebody else, but can you clarify, which part of the park is closed off? Is there a portion that's being?
So we had areas of the boardwalk that were put in 2007. They were wood boardwalks that were designed to be environmentally friendly. Environmentally friendly also means, you know, they can deteriorate over time. And so some of those had deteriorated to the point that they weren't safe, so they were closed off. And now those have been removed, and those areas open back up to the public.
So everything's open?
Yeah, there are some, obviously, areas that are restricted because of the stonework and the fortifications, the historical significance of those areas. And the other thing that's going to be great about this is right now that 64 acres, much of it is really untenable land. I mean, it's areas that really don't have walking paths or good accessibility. So all that will be opened once the master plan is implemented.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for that wonderful report.
Sure.
And all the work y'all do.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to capital projects. Joe?
Sorry. On here, you'll see the printout. The highlights are what's updated from last month. The First and Gay Park redevelopment, the design has been completed and is going around for a staff review. Bordeaux Gardens, the playground and shelter should be completed by the end of this month. Fort Negley, we had our design kickoff meeting. The survey is all complete, and as Cyril said, we had a couple of coordination meetings. We're shooting for 30% design by the first of the year. Cossie Gardner is completed and open for public use. We had our final walkthrough today, and we obviously have some minor punch list items that need to be completed, but that is open. Madison Station, the survey is completed. We're waiting for the proposal from our A&E firm. Mariposa's design is in progress, and we are working to 30% by the end of the year as well. Severe Sunnyside Mansion restoration, we're at about 90% there. It looks fantastic. If you haven't been there, go by and take a look. We did have a couple tours. I'd be glad to do another tour if you'd like. We're estimating that to be completed somewhere around January, maybe early February. Two Rivers, we're about 95% on that, and that will go on hold after that until we get funding. Mill Ridge Phase 2, we awarded the design last week and are working with Kimberly Horn to move forward with that design. And then we got back the Miracle Lead Field proposals, and we were working on funding for that out at Cedar Hill, which should make Mr. Cruz happy. So, any questions?
Any questions?
A lot going on.
Yeah, a lot.
Good time to be in
report.
Nashville.
That's great.
All right.
Thank you. Greenways update. Cindy.
Hello. Start with our kind of top projects right now that are active. The Charlotte Corridor Railroad Trail, we've presented the Cheatham County Rail Authority Board with a draft easement document, and we're going back and forth tweaking that at the moment. 440 Greenway from Sevier Park to Browns Creek Park. The drawings are complete. We've submitted those to the TDOT Excess Land License Committee as well as Metro for permitting. and hope to have those finalized soon. The 440 Greenway Park Plaza to Centennial Park is also in permitting. We've completed our Fort Negley Greenway to Browns Creek Greenway feasibility study and have identified 3 possible routes that newer greenway may take as funding comes along. The Whites Creek Greenway at Hartman Park, this is one that's been on the list for a while that we wanted to get started. This will be a partnership with Metro Water Services and the availability of the land for those parcels that we'll be utilizing were Piedmont owned, and those have been transferred over to Metro. So we'll begin to have those discussions with Water Services and get a designer on board for that project. That will connect Hartman Park, where we have the Whites Creek Greenway that goes all the way down to Mullins Park. This will go in the other direction along West Hamilton over to Buena Vista. And it's already beautiful in that it was volunteer flood buyout property, so there are mature trees, and there's an opportunity to have a little neighborhood park if the community desires that, as well as a greenway along the creek. And I just wanted to mention that the easements today were partnerships, so to speak, with developers. Those easements came from developers who were building where we have planned greenways. And just those along today, once they're approved by council, will add another 9.5 acres approximately to the greenway system. So those relationships with the Planning Commission and developers is important for us. So we appreciate your patience in looking at all those documents as they come through. Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to upcoming special activities and events. Jackie, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. So even though when you look at your sheet of board events, you have fewer permitted events than we've had in a long time, there is still a lot going on at Metro Park. So I just wanted to give you just a few things to consider and to watch out for. Tickets are now on sale for the Mini Nutcracker, which is performed by the Centennial Youth Ballet. This year, the event is scheduled from December 8th through the 10th at Harpeth Hall. This event really is a Nashville tradition. Tickets sell out quickly, so get your tickets now if you want to go. On November 17th from 5 to 8 p.m., we have the gallery opening for our annual student and staff holiday exhibit and sale. And the operative word there is sale. This is one of the best places to get unique gifts for the holidays. They have everything from jewelry to pottery to fine art to statues. It's a great place to shop, so keep that in mind. Our community centers are sponsoring a basketball tournament for those who are 50 and up, so if any of you would like to attend that or to register for that, registration is going on now through Friday, actually. Registration is $10, and the event will be held at the Southeast Community Center in Antioch. Several of our community centers have holiday events going on. For instance, West Park Community Center is sponsoring a turkey giveaway on November 20th for the folks in their community. And on November 21st, South Inglewood Community Center is sponsoring a Thanksgiving dinner for the folks in their area. And that event is from 4 to 7 p.m. and it's free. And finally, you may have heard or you may have seen on television, we are looking for a tree. Metro Parks has, for the last 30 years, has been the department that has found a Christmas tree for the tree lighting event at Public Square. So this year, we thought we had a tree, and we found out that we didn't. So the pressure is on. If you know anybody who has a 30 to 40 foot Norway spruce that is either in the way or for some reason is causing a problem at that location, give us their address. Randall Lance and his crew will go out and look at it, get an estimate on whether or not it's appropriate to be put in public square. They will grind the stump and replace the tree if that's what the owner wants. So we are, as the kids say, we are pressured to get this done because the tree lighting ceremony is coming up very, very quickly. So we hope you will keep that in mind as you travel around the city. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, we'll move on to the report of the director.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And just to pick up from where Jackie left off, I have been assured that we will have a tree. I'm probably one of the more frantic ones every year when we get this close to the date that has been set for the lighting of the holiday tree, but I have been assured as of Monday that we will absolutely have some sort of tree. No, we'll have a tree. We will have a tree.
Charlie Brown.
All good, all good. So I just wanted to say that. And also to kind of piggyback on some things that Jackie was mentioning, our community center division had its first annual Community Center Stars recognition banquet on Friday evening. It was a lovely event. It was a great opportunity to, again, acknowledge the leadership and outstanding performance of those in our community center division. I want to give a special thanks to Darlene Morrow, who supports Stevon Nellums in that division, and the rest of the leadership team in that division for being thoughtful about acknowledging those folks who go above and beyond and making that competition fun. It was a wonderful event at the Bridge Building on Friday evening, and like I said, it's the first annual. I think they will have it biannually instead of every year. So kudos to them. Our mid-year discussion with finance, the finance department and the mayor's office is coming up this week. We will kind of review where we are in this FY24 budget and kind of project forward of what we see we'll be asking for in the next budget. So kind of get the lay of the land there. It helps us stay aligned with both the mayor's office and the finance department, even though budget kickoff will be, it's generally in January, and we will at that time, Metro Department to get more detailed budget instructions of how we are to proceed. So we're looking forward to that meeting later this week. Our division updates that you requested at last Parks Board meeting, those will begin in January. We have already, I've already issued a schedule for those, so we're looking forward to hearing from our divisions, and they're excited. Don't they look excited? And then finally, I will mention I've had some very productive conversations with Mayor O'Connell about working on just supporting our department in general, but then to giving us some resources for implementation of our Parks and Greenways Master Plan and developing a supplement to that. So our team has started to talk about that and gather what we need to on our end, and I will have a follow-up conversation with him. And we're very much looking forward to that. Some elements of that supplemental piece are already in progress that we will just fold into what we will be doing as a completed plan that we'll present to you all at a later date. So that is all I have to report today. If you have any questions, I will take those now.
Any questions for the director?
I wanted to ask and circle back on the there's an echo. The Brookmead Park second community meeting, an opportunity for the community, is that happening? Is it scheduled? If so, when?
That will be in the form, as I mentioned in the email that I sent you all when I shared the feedback, the culminated feedback and report. We will be posting a survey. I understand that there were lots more in the community who were unable to participate in the first meeting. So we will be posting a survey to our website, and we will certainly let people know when that's available for input in that way.
So there's not going to be an in-person Gresham Smith?
No,
event?
it'll be
Okay.
a survey. At the first meeting, I think there are probably 20 people, and I understand there are many more. I've heard that there are many more in the community that would like to provide input, and that's the most efficient and expedient way to do that.
Okay.
Can we get any other questions for Director Odom? In the next meeting, can we get an update on Ascend? I know we're coming up on our 10 years, and it should be going to RFP again, and I think it probably needs to happen sooner than later, so.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other announcements, future agenda items? If not, good.
Did we determine what time our field trip was?
It's at 9. Did you send that back out? It begins at 9.
Yeah, that's good, thanks. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.